Hello everyone. So it's been a long time since I actually did a long video, and so today is it's a painting of Jewellery Bonney from One Piece, which I think I had purchased this around 2022. I referred to my purchase history and got this around mid 2022 and started working on it. So as you can see, this is the finished painting, and here's the box for it. So yeah, this is a very old figure, and like I said, I had started working on it once I got it, and I did some modifications on the figure back then. And so once that was done, I actually I don't know what happened. I got tired, or just some burnout, and didn't feel like finishing it, so it was left as is for a very long time, and I decided to finally finish it this year. Well, looking back at the figure, I think I would have avoided doing some of the modifications that I did, but when I started painting it, it was a bit too late. I had already made these things with putty, which is quite permanent when it comes to figures, so I couldn't reverse the thing at that point. Anyways, so yeah, this time I was able to record the painting process quite a lot. So what you're seeing right now is painting the darker tone of the skin, because the mid-tone was done with the help of airbrush, which actually it makes it easier to cover a large area, and so that makes it easier to progress with the rest of the paints. Now I would like to show you the colors that I went with when preparing the skin tone. So it's usually I go with this Gaia Notes 15 pure orange. I don't know if it will focus. Please focus. Come on. Yeah, Gaia Notes 15 orange and Gaia Notes 5, which is sunshine yellow. These are lacquer based paints, which are generally used for figure painting, so they are like pretty sturdy and much more they are thick when using, and difficult to create gradients as with acrylic colors. So the next part that you're seeing now was to paint the wet effect on the shirt, on the top, which was honestly, this is the first time I tried doing such a thing, and turned out to be very interesting. I didn't know if I'll succeed with this, so I just went with it, and turned out pretty good. But unfortunately, I was streaming at that time, and so the recording didn't turn out very well. It's in very low resolution, and don't really have much to show for that. So moving back to the darker shades. So these are the three colors: natural brown, orange, and yellow, which I used to create the shade, and a little bit of red brown, which is, I would say, just a darker shade of this, to dull it down a bit more, if for the lack of a better word. And next was the top. So for this I painted the top with the darker shade first, and then went on top of it with tones of grey, which of course, white and black, the most primarily used colors in my paintings. So that's why I have like huge bottles of them. I go through white very quickly, it's like drinking this shit. And a little bit of blue. So once I was done with the first layer, which I would say was the darkest layer, let me see if I can point it out. This layer, I mixed it a bit with the remainder of the darker shade, and I got this gradient which formed like a good mid-tone for the painting. And yeah, I think this effect turned out very well. The only thing I would change the next time I'm doing it would be maybe go a bit darker on this tone and cover a bit more area. So yeah, this was the wet effect, or the, to show wet clothes. I don't know how to present it better. So yeah, that was the thing with for the top at least. And then the rest of it were just highlights, go with, like, went lighter and lighter, and I think I have like four shades, 4-5 if you include the darker tone as well. So yeah, that was what I did for the top. I did take like a few references from here and there to check how it should look, and yeah, it was a challenge. I have never done, like I said, I've never done wet clothes, so wanted to try and see if it can be done with a brush, because if you can see these parts, they would look a lot better if blended. So maybe, especially with lacquer paints, if you're using an airbrush, I believe you'll be able to create a much better effect with it. But if you're doing straight up brush painting like I did, I think this is quite good with that. And yeah, so that was one of the special things about this figure, and unfortunately I wasn't able to record it properly this time. So maybe in the future, if I record another figure with wet clothes, then maybe we'll get a better look of it. So yeah, once that was done, then moved on to basically painting the, I think these are leggings, I don't know what you call them, and the shorts. So for this figure I removed the straps. My vocabulary is down bad today. I can't think of words, or I'm forgetting my words, I don't know. But anyways, this is the part that I removed for the modifications that I did. And honestly, if you ask me, like, it wasn't that necessary to do the modifications. I could have done without them, but I don't have a way to go back to 2022 and tell myself like, hey, it's you don't need to do this. so we have to work with what we have. Either way, so the coloring for this part was, I think this was just gradients of purple. So I basically went with red and blue, and tried to make it lighter with white, and towards the end, or the highlight part, which is probably the brightest part of the color, I used a little extra red to give it a pinkish hue. Generally, when I have to paint with just purple, I will use this Mr. Color Purple, which is pretty good. These are my go-to color brands, Gaia Notes and Mr. Color, and I go to Mr. Color very rarely, so Gaia Notes is the primary paint company that I use when it comes to painting figures. Now going to the brushes that I use. So this is my collection of brushes in a Pringle can, and I have to say that if you are starting out, you will have to go through quite a few brushes to find out which ones you are most comfortable with. So for this particular figure, I mostly used this number 2 brush, which honestly these brushes are pretty good. They last me for quite some time. And I also, once I'm done painting, I generally used brush conditioner to make sure that I don't spoil the brushes as quickly, otherwise I'll be going through them at an alarming speed. Other than that, there is this 000 brush, which it's fine. It's not the best out there. It's so. Then of course there is a 4-number brush, which you will see in the video I used to paint the hair. Basically, whenever I have to cover out larger regions, I prefer going for this one. And whenever I have to do detail work, this is 10/0, or I would say this is the thinnest brush I have. Thinnest, but I think, wait, no, I have a brush that is thinner than this, but it's not very convenient to use. It's this Tamiya modeling brush Pro. So this one has like a very short tip, and that kind of makes it a headache to use. I don't know if the tip will even be visible. Yeah, as you can see, since the tip is so short, that makes it a bit harder to use, but it's very handy when you have to make like very minute details. Other than that, there is one thing I've recently found that I like to use, that is this is just a simple metal tip which is useful. Okay, I'm not taking it out either way. So this one, it's very useful when you have to add like just simple dots, like for the eyes here, when I have to add the highlights for the eyes. Okay, it's not visible. For the highlights of the eyes, I just use the tip, just dip it in a bit of white and carefully place a dot on there, and you're done, and it's pretty good compared to the brushes. So yeah, I think these are the most frequently used brushes, or the ones I use most of the time. Other than that, there is this one, which is supposed to be premium sable brush, and so this one is a lot more nicer to use compared to these are nylon brushes, and I generally use that when I am adding in details with black. So for the final detailing, I don't use the Gaia Notes black. Instead, I go for an acrylic based paint, which is, this one is called Muso Black, and it's like one of the darkest black paints out there. So this produces a really nice effect, and also it's easier to correct errors with that paint because it's water based, and when it dries it stays nicely. And then on top of that, of course, you go on it with a top coat, clear coat, and you'll get like a very nice effect similar to this one. And once all of this was done, so a few things that I did not record myself painting were the eyes and the highlights on the figure, that are these parts, because they were done after the detailing was added in, and I did not want to record it at that time, because when I'm detailing I need the figure closer to my face. So when I'm doing that, I can't really record. When I'm painting, it has to, basically when I'm painting without recording, the figure is way closer to my face than you can see here. So it's much more convenient that way. So for the eyes and the detailing, I didn't do any recording, and I don't really think you really need any recording for that. I think it's because there's nothing really that different that I'm doing with it, so it's essential for the figure, but it's not essential for a recording, I'd say. So yeah, and I had to go through like these many and a lot more brushes which I have thrown away to find out like the particular set of brushes and the companies that I feel comfortable with. And like I mentioned, my go-to paints are all Guyanotes, and for detailing it's the acrylic black. These are the materials I used for completing this figure. And will I do this again? Maybe not. This particular character she's so. I mean, it's not really doesn't interest me that much. This figure was good, the sculpting was good. That is the main reason I bought it. And Glitter and Glamorous series is quite nice when it comes to those things. But I think if I want to go for Glitter and Glamorous, there are a lot more figures which I can go for. So yeah, maybe I won't really go for Jewellery Bonney again, but let's see. We'll see what happens. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. It was a little different because mostly because of the video quality lacking in one clip, and another clip which I wasn't able to add because of format issues. But I think now I have more or less figured out how to get a good recording of these painting processes, and hopefully I'll be able to bring more of these to you in the future. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It's somewhat instructive. If you want to know any other details, make sure you leave a comment, reach out to me in any of the places that are mentioned, and I would love to respond. It's always fun to paint. I enjoy painting. That's the main reason, or the only reason I do these things. Painting and sculpting are my hobby, and I spend a lot of time doing those. So I would love to share that hobby with anyone. And yeah, I hope you liked today's video. Leave a like, leave a comment. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And that'll be it. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.